All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Symphogear, Season 4, Episode 6. Dreamscape Battle. Oh boy.
Yeah. We have two of our girls in a situation right now.
A very serious situation.
Very, very serious situation.
Because
I can't believe that we're actually doing this again. Like,
I mean, anime has taught me that heroes live on in our hearts, but
yeah.
I didn't really think they would do it.
Man only
with
dies
Bear.
when he is forgotten.
That's right, damn it. And this hero will never be forgotten.
Never.
Watch. He ends up being like a crucial, piece of the puzzle with defeating the bad guys.
I mean,
or something.
he is the source of Linker. That's the only person that's
true.
actually been able to get that part
Yeah,
going there. So
yeah.
if Kirika and Shirabe want to be able to consistently fight, they gotta get that stuff going there. But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay, God, this was a crazy episode. I felt bad my allergies were acting up because this was so hype. I can't believe how much they went hard on the animation.
Oh yeah,
and yeah.
So we had the
we had the noise and Symphogear.
We had the noise, yep, and that was actually, I gotta say, even though it definitely fell into that category of
dragging on,
bullshit, annoying noise that for our main characters to fight.
Yeah.
I liked how it worked because they were able to make progress in that, it was just
very slow.
It was very slow, right?
Yeah. They all dealt 60 damage a turn. The thing regenerated 50 damage a turn.
Right, exactly. It's okay. We kill it. We have to kill it 4 times to get through all the heads or whatever. All right, cool.
Sure.
But that is a thing that they can do, so there was a point to them actually fighting it. And for the antagonists, they're wanting to specifically split them up and wear them out and things like that.
So that they can just absolutely demolish one of them.
Exactly.
And the thing specifically so that they force one of them to also use their ignite module,
right?
Which was something that was wait,
because they can do the thing to counter the ignite module.
So yeah, why go after Hibiki's specifically though?
I think because Hibiki is the biggest problem, so they do the whole thing of sending some of them after Lydian Academy and stuff to even more so make them split up and things like that.
Oh, I thought the Lydian Academy thing was to make her feel desperate enough to use her ignite module because they know about Miku.
Too.
They know about her relationship with Miku, and they're like, "Oh, this will make her use the ignite module."
Sure, yeah, that's probably what it was, and luckily, or unluckily for the antagonists, luckily for our main girls, they're not alone. Even just the 3 of them are not alone. And Kirika and Shirabe were able to show up and throw hands like we have never seen before from them.
Yeah.
And I love that so much because it's something where up until now in the show, a lot of the time because of the linker limitation, they would basically be the characters that would come in and distract the buy time basically for the main characters to show up and do their thing. For sure. Right? And that's great and all that stuff. But no, this is where we actually get to see them fully kick ass on their own. Where it's just the 2 of them, and as more of the alchemists come in and using more of their abilities and things like that, and it keeps setting things up where it's this is where I would expect for them to be defeated, right? Because we've seen that happen before.
But then everyone came together.
But even before they came together, they broke through the barrier and everything, right? Yeah. The 2 of them versus the 3 of the others.
That's because they hadn't donned their Faust robes at that point. So they're now at full strength. It's now going to be a true fight. But it was a really cool way to have the buildup of they've been struggling with, okay, how do we participate and help and what have you?
Yep.
Given that all we have really is each other and we don't have all the things. Well, no, that's plenty. That's all
love is all you need.
Yeah. So now we have it 100% confirmed that the power of love is what's actually fueling this whole thing.
And so, of course, they would be 2 of the strongest.
Linker is something that taps into that area of the brain, that unscientific area, the power of something that is just beyond the edge of reason. Love that bonds human beings together.
It does this.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
And it just grasps it.
Interesting.
firmly grasp it.
Yeah,
you know?
interesting how that works, huh? Yeah. So basically, it is literally the hand-holding serum.
Yep.
Like, and I love it.
I love it.
I love
yes, it's so perfect. And now, okay, all our ladies need to just tap deep into their love that they have for either each other, for like someone that they've lost, themselves. Like there's all this that basically comes down to hand holding, power of friendship, power of love, and I want this. Yes,
Me too. It's to the point where now I know that this is something that the show has only done this once, so it isn't necessarily going to happen. But I feel like if the show wanted to have Miku somehow get her hands on another relic and get Symphogear again and everything,
this is
power of love and everything, baby.
Well, Linker,
so
man.
you know,
I mean,
right?
like
She just gets the relic and and everything. Like then she has the linker, and there you go. And because she definitely loves Hibiki.
I mean,
and then
I think this has been like written in the stars. You know?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's just a
million miles
when.
away, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Message to the name.
That's right. So now they're going to throw. Well, they might not throw down.
Well, okay.
So they're ready to throw down.
So let's break this down a little bit here. Given that this is something that was a really powerful character moment for Maria to realize that her mother sacrificed all of this, basically. The bond that she held with Maria was so strong. It was the only thing basically keeping her going through this horrific, essentially just pain that she was putting her daughters through.
Yep.
So that she could save the world, basically.
Right.
That was something that was breaking her more than it was even breaking them. And the idea that, the complicated aspect of this hurts me more than it hurts you is like,
right.
That's still super fucked up.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's still true. It doesn't change the fact that the physical pain probably was something that, was, definitely there. But yeah.
Yeah, it's right. It was a sacrifice that was being made on both sides.
No, because that's the thing. They weren't necessarily choosing.
Well, okay,
this.
Right.
No,
it was a cost that was being paid by both sides, and only one of them was getting to choose that they wanted to pay that price.
Right.
So
yeah, and this is another example again of them doing the same kind of thing that they had with the parents in the previous thing. But the thing is that Mama is a far more developed character than all those other parents and stuff. So we've seen her in way more context dealing with this kind of situation. So I 100% bought that this was where her headspace was at.
And it's also a situation where they had reason to believe that the world was at stake because of the whole thing of like, the moon's going to fall to Earth and it's being covered up. People aren't going to stop it.
I mean, that was also before they actually brought it to be coming down. That was back when they were little, like...
Yeah.
That was the preparation, I think, for what they're doing right now, which is the idea that they were already basically prepping things to be ready to build, to give soldiers, essentially, for Fine's cause to break the curse of humanity.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, right. That's what it would have been. Yeah, because I was going to say, wait, what were they saving? If that was before Fine...
Well, that's the thing. The world needs saving because we're in a world currently where the alchemists and the Symphogear users can all tell that there is an order of things that is not meant to be a certain way.
Right. Yeah, it's right. It's the... If we break the curse and make it so that humanity all has one language and can understand each other, would that theoretically get rid of war and things like that? And,
in some ways, it builds into the world building that they're doing through Linker here that humanity would be able to love each other again.
Sure.
In the way that the actual bonds that connect humanity don't have to come through some heretical technology that forces people into, these really painful situations where those bonds can be forged, which I do like the metaphor here that pain is where the strongest actual bonds are gathered here. Kindness is a word that I feel like is too limiting in the context here, but another way to think about it is that if it's a harmless environment, meaning like there's absolutely no struggle, there's nothing that you're actually having to deal with, and it's a utopia of sorts, you will have peace. You will have all these wonderful things, but the bonds forged in the fire, in the harshest environments, are the ones that shine the most brilliant, right? Because they were actually tested. They had a lot that were put through. Yeah.
Right. Hibiki saying that she wants to hold hands with, like, say, Tsubasa, right, doesn't necessarily isn't as impressive as Hibiki saying, "I want to hold hands with you, people that are trying to kill us."
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's a bit of a bigger deal.
It's a larger leap,
right?
And thus she needs to put more effort into actually trying to reach them. But they called this arrogant because on some level they are doing exactly what Hibiki is saying you don't need to do, which is using human beings as building blocks. But are Symphogear users actually capable of breaking the curse? Is this something that only alchemists can do?
Well, okay. Given that Fine was going to break the curse by destroying the moon, I think our Symphogear users are perfectly capable, shall we say, of breaking the curse.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that I don't get the vibe, basically, that they just want to break the curse, because then I think they would manipulate the Symphogear users into doing it for them.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm curious about, because a lot of the stuff that they said this episode was, from what we got right now in this episode, general platitudes. Yeah. And they don't, and that it doesn't
Classic
really...
Symphogear villains. They don't really want to tell us anything.
They don't really say anything when they're trying to tell us what's going on. So the only concrete thing that we have is that they're wanting to break the curse. Cool. They
were aligned with Fine, but Fine went askew in some ways because she was a little bit more greedy and a little bit more personally motivated.
Right.
So they're trying to say that, hey, we are not as arrogant and as self-centered as Fine was. We are trying to do this for the sake of humanity.
Which is now granted, the problem is that Fine also used that as sort of like a facade platitude to cover up what she was really after too. So that doesn't work as an answer all on its own.
Yeah.
But the breaking the curse, again, our girls have no reason to have a problem with that, as long as you destroy the moon in a way that won't kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, but again, they don't want to destroy the moon. They want to gain control over the moon ruins, as they said. Which means they don't want to just go and shoot a big energy blast.
Right, that sounds like it's something where it's no, we want to break the curse, but we kind of want to be masters of the curse so that way we control the human race. That's the kind of thing that it makes it seem like to me, which then
I don't think
you're probably going to have some problems with Symphogear users.
Again, I don't think so. Saint-Germain's whole thing is no one should be oppressed, and basically that there's this whole thing here of, humanity is underneath basically an order that needs to be destroyed.
The oppression of God, basically, through the curse of Belial and all that. Yeah.
Right. So what she's saying is not, we are going to put a new order. We are just going to take the power that enacts the current order and use it to break itself, basically.
Right. But even then, that's okay, cool. So you still haven't said of
what you're going to replace it with.
What you're going to replace it with. Yeah. Why what we're saying is arrogant of we want to work together, because there's nothing fundamentally in what you're talking about that says that it requires all of this wanton violence that you guys have been doing.
My guess is that one of the things that's being used as a catchphrase, kind of not a catchphrase, but like a shorthand, is just God here. I think God as a capital G, big, ultimate power thing is maybe more of a like a law and order of sorts.
Right. The dragon that they had at the beginning, they said they had the
divine energy
or whatever, which might be different than the power of God, but
some kind of laws of causality kind of shit. So maybe let's say there's something in the moon ruins, basically, that has an essence of divine power.
Sure.
So then they'll use that to break the curse of humans.
Sure.
But then, what basically is... So, like if you think about this from, a logical standpoint, Season 5 has to have them fight God at some point, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's
been built up. But they're not going to fight a singular divine entity, right?
I mean... It could be some anti-spiral kind of...
That's my thought, yeah. It's going to be more anti-spiral kind of stuff, where it's not literal beings or what have you. It's the established, order of things.
I mean, that's why in these stories that, you have the characters fight God in general, is not because it's the individual that you want them to fight. It's they're fighting the concept of the current order that is antiquated or stagnant or brittle, stale, whatever, right? That doesn't cut it anymore, and so now you need something new,
change,
right?
yeah.
You need change, and so that's where the young spunky protagonists come in, right?
right, exactly, and then drill their way to tomorrow.
Exactly, but they still haven't gotten into any of the details of that kind of stuff here. So, like, of why they would need to be enemies with Hibiki.
Yeah, my thought,
and
this is something I feel like has been built up over and over and over again, is that Symphogear is not a thing that, in alchemists' view, is synergistic with alchemy. It is something that
it's because you're using this Symphogear, that you fundamentally cannot coexist with us.
Yeah, you're basically trying to kill and destroy this thing of the divine while using the divine's tools, basically.
As opposed to our alchemy stuff is something separate.
That's humanity.
Sure.
Some way.
Okay. Yeah.
In some ways, the idea that alchemy is the crystallization of all that is human life coming together to pull into something,
right?
And we'll see how they'd use that. But yeah, this is their moment, I would say, to have a mid-season finale where they drop the bombshell of, here's why we can't actually be allies.
Right, and that's something that I'm very interested to see, because we already have someone that they are also not in perfect alignment with.
Yep.
And that's Adam.
Yep.
So, well, they might not necessarily want to share all those kinds of details and stuff with Hibiki and Co. because they think they're enemies and stuff. Cool.
Sure.
If Hibiki is given the chance to be her persistent, bludgeon through everything, hamster self, and hand-holding and all of that jazz,
right,
then I feel like these characters will have to basically realize that, maybe they don't, they'll either have to give a concrete example, or they'll have to just be sort of well, we don't want to work with you, right, and then it goes into a fight, right?
Yep.
But barring that, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for them to hold hands and figure something out, or at the very least talk, right? Because there's no immediate threat that's happening that will require that things be pushed into violent action, right? Previously, we've had a lot of situations like that, and I think as a result of that, we had some very good reasonings for why they haven't gotten the chance to talk up until now. But I think that might have changed here.
That might have changed
and
here.
So
it could also be interesting to see a situation, weirdly enough, where our protagonists win dramatically, and the antagonists just get so upset at the idea of Symphogear users constantly hounding them and ruining their plans at every step, that they don't actually see reason and being willing to work with them, and it becomes an emotional battle of, hey, again, protecting those you're bonded with.
Yeah.
And if their bond is something that is pretty strong, it'd be cool to see it tested against a force that outnumbers them 2-1 at the very least.
Like the fact that Saint-Germain said that's arrogant, right? That very much reminds me of Shirabe at the beginning of season 2,
yes,
right? Where, it's oh, you don't understand, you wouldn't be able to, all that stuff. That makes me very interested to see exactly why she believes that it's arrogant, right? Because I feel like there's a specific reason there that that we haven't gotten yet.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I think it ultimately comes down to the thing of where, when you have villains like this, the thing that can make them very compelling is that they have an ideal. Everything underneath the ideal that doesn't at least reach that minimum objective, irrelevant. They just don't care. They're like, nope, I don't care if it's 100,000 deaths. I don't care if it's 1 million deaths.
And
I don't care. We need to hit this ideal.
Right, and that is a way that it can definitely make sense of how they could get into a situation like this. Not just in the I'll do whatever's necessary, but in the I will not actually listen to the words that you're saying because I don't see you as lining up with my ideal, and as a result, I will continue to fight you even if we don't necessarily have to, because they're stubbornly holding on to their ideals that have helped them keep going for the hundreds of years that they've been working towards this.
But if it doesn't go to that at this point, I think we're literally then heading to a point where it's okay, they're actually in a weird way, if they don't communicate with them in this regard, I think that actually reinforces even more so that the Bavarian Illuminati are the good guys, and that it's extremely important that they get, at the very least, their objectives, having some momentum in that regard, because so far they seem to be the least insane of all the Symphogear antagonists that we've had thus far.
Okay, that's...
Weirdly enough, let me just bring a comparison up here. Fine is actually the arrogant one, I would say, of all the... No,
Totally.
Actually, Carol was probably the most arrogant. Maybe.
I'm
not sure. I'm not sure.
I mean, well,
no,
okay.
maybe not.
No.
Fine, I would say.
All right.
Fine
all
for
of the
sure.
all of these Symphogear villains have been quite arrogant.
Yes.
Varying degrees for which one we could figure out how to order them out.
But Carol's seem to be born out of basically a past pain that then led to her
lashing out.
Yeah, Machiavellian kind of manipulating everything towards this, kind of point here. But I would say that she fell to the same problem that Fine did, that her motivations were far too personal and self-centered compared to someone like the Bavarian Illuminati here. Then you have Kirika Shirobei, Mama Ver, all that there. In some ways, they were the ones that just believed they were the protagonists to the point where they needed to be shown other perspectives along the way.
And their arrogance was in refusing to look at the perspectives when the protagonists were trying to show them the different perspectives.
Right, or just not being willing to look at the fact that even the motivations within the group weren't all aligned.
Sure, that too, yeah.
That kind of feels like a similar thing that they're pulling from here. Because I've been feeling like with these antagonists, they took a bunch of things that worked from previous antagonists and just kind of mashed them all together.
Yeah, Adam seems like a more serious Ver.
He seems like a way less interesting and more serious Ver. Yeah. Fine, in some ways, feels like a more alone and isolated Saint-Germain, weirdly enough. And then the two other characters are basically the squad equivalent, basically, to attach to the Fine type character, the one who's I'm going to save the world, whatever it takes kind of character.
And that's probably the biggest thing that we need to see moving forward is the connection from the two of them to Saint-Germain.
Or just the three of them.
Sure, yeah.
Together, yeah. But okay. I love any time they bring up the Curse of Balal and seeking an age where the Lulu Amel could be masters of their own fate and transcend the past and all that. Because it's like, okay, cool.
Like that was dropped in the very beginning of the show. It's like, yeah,
the more and more it keeps getting brought up, the more and more I'm like, okay, so the curse on humanity, stopping the flames of war, reuniting the world, the custodian's curse, which is held us in its grip since time untold, speak with the words of truth. And it's like, okay, there's lots of good stuff in there. I want to see that gotten into, bring it up again. Keep it going.
This show does such a good job of escalating things to crazier and crazier levels and more hype and things like that. When it comes to the actual world building stuff that's at play, it's all right, come on, we know that has to be gotten into at some point, and we've been waiting for a while for that to happen. So
they already
let's get to it.
Pre-escalated everything to God level back in season 1.
Exactly.
And we've been just watching the villains keep bringing it halfway up.
Hitting that glass ceiling,
Yeah. Hey, that could actually be what it feels like for the villains.
Sure.
Is that the villains are actually the ones that have been planning and preparing for thousands of years of humanity, for eons at this point.
These fucking teenagers.
And these dumb fucking teenagers, right at the point where everything is about to go really well, over the course of a year, stop multiple attempts to get things to that point. And they're like, fuck!
Well, and just another way of looking at it, because, yes, there would be all kinds of meta reasons and stuff of why, new villains with each season, and how do you incorporate that into the previous stuff and all that. But they were beaten by Fine way back when. Then these kids come along and beat Fine. After that, the kids proceed to get more and more powerful and get all of these new forms and transformations and things like that. And they're like, okay, but we are going to beat these. Oh, they also increased their number.
Yeah.
There's just more of them. But we'll beat them this time.
No, but see, that's the thing. That's the thing. And I like that they use these villains as almost like the, weirdly enough, I've seen this in a bunch of other fantasies. They're the characters that are the organization that ran all of the stuff that season 2 and 3 villains acquired. And even in some ways, Fine... But Fine was an ex-member of theirs that they were all kind of, having
I'll do
a
it
weird
all
alliance
myself,
with, and then Fine basically split from the Eternals and
Right.
went all
I don't need
Thanos
y'all.
style. I got this myself.
Right.
Cool.
But
cool.
That's just got to be so frustrating for Saint-Germain and everybody, where it's like, fuck. Like,
yes. Thousands of years of history and fucking waifus with songs and power of friendship.
And rocket-propelled sword delivery mechanisms for fists.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hell of a thing.
Yep.
But yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.